Okay, so we've been married, it'll be 25 years in August. And I was 19 turning 20 when we got married.
And I was 22, going on 23 when we first met.
Yeah, and I guess in the 1989 when we got married, it was common for that age. That was a common age to get married, whereas today it's much older.
I
Okay.
think when we first met, it was right away we kind of felt something for each other. You know, you can kind of gauge that attraction right off the bat, and I just found myself always wanting to be with her, and whatever spare time I had revolved my life revolved around her. Always trying to spend time with her because I enjoyed being with her.
Our courtship was long distance because he lived in Brooklyn, I lived on Long Island, so we worked it out. We just, saw each other every opportunity we could and on the weekends, and it worked out really well.
I kind of knew it was different from other girls that I had met because I found myself trying to do anything I could to spend time with her, whether it be just to stay together or to go to the movies or to go to dinner or whatever. I
Right.
mean, I went as far as to ride my bike 30 miles to go see her
I remember that.
on a weekend, and
People said you were crazy, but
yeah,
that was very
people think you're
sweet.
nuts, but that's the things you do when you fall in love with each other.
And we also did, when we decided, when we were dating and then when we got engaged, we were deciding that we were going to just do low key things to save money for our first home. So we just rented a lot of movies and did not eat out fancy places. We just kind
And
of.
that was the thing to do because you knew what you had a goal in mind of what you wanted and
Yeah.
what you wanted to save your money for,
Right.
and it wasn't important what you were doing or where you were going, just that you were with
That we're
each other.
together hanging out. Yep. Okay, so our engagement, we got engaged in '87. And originally, when we got engaged, we planned it together. It wasn't really a surprise. We went and picked out the ring. It was a lot of fun. We went to the city to pick out the ring. And when we got engaged, we originally had in our mind that we were going to get married in 1988. And we had set a date in our head of 1988, but then his dad passed away February 14th of 1988, which was very sad and sudden. So we ended up pushing it to 1989. It was hard.
Most of the engagement was kind of spent apart. I worked a lot of hours at work. I lived in Brooklyn. She lived in Long Island with her parents. I lived with my mom, and a lot of the time was spent apart. I mean, she did most of the planning. She'd ask my opinion on different things, and being a guy, as far as marriage goes,
Yeah.
I just kind of said I'll be there. Went along for the ride, whatever she chose to do,
Yeah.
and unfortunately, it was a lot of time apart. And unfortunately, when my dad passed away, we did put it off for another year to the following summer.
Right.
I guess based more on the fact that there was too much going on. You know, it was too sudden, and just couldn't kind of see ourselves getting married just a few months after my dad had passed away. And that's one thing that we kind of regret that my dad wasn't around.
He was very young. He was only 53. He was very, very young, so he missed out on.
He missed out on a lot of the fun. He was only with us for 2 months while we were engaged and starting to do the planning and everything. And it was a lot of the same thing that we spoke about earlier. A lot of saving money, and I left most of it in her court. Unfortunately, she got stuck with a lot of it.
It was fun. It was all good. It was fun. It was all good things, with the exception of his dad not being around. It was a lot of fun planning. So when we got married, I was 23, turning 24.
Mhm.
Right? And how old were you?
25 and almost 26,
Right.
which, like she said earlier, was kind of unheard of.
Right.
Is kind of unheard of now.
Yeah.
It was more of a common thing then. You kind of knew early on what you wanted with your life. You wanted to have kids, and I look back on my mom even further. Earlier than that, she had 4 kids before she was 30 years old. Whereas nowadays, most of the time, it's
People getting married at 30.
Yeah, and
So
or meeting each other at 30 years old, and maybe not get married until 35, 40 years old. So it was different in that respect.
right.
But it was great. I mean, we've had our time. We kind of grew up together.
Right.
And it's been a lot of fun.
We were just looking for the same things in a spouse with each other. We both kind of had the same thing that we were looking for, the same belief with the kids, and we both found what we were looking for. So getting married was just, of course, what we decided we wanted to do. We were in love, we wanted to have a family, and it just was a natural decision.
A lot of the things that I felt I wanted in a marriage, I saw in her, and we had common goals. I mean, common things that were important to us, and
Same values.
same values. Having children was so important, and
Right.
that's what you look forward to a lot.
Right.
I mean, it was nice to have time together early on before the kids were born and everything, but it was just that feeling of everything that I wanted, she wanted, and vice versa.
Yeah.
That we had the same goals in life, and it wasn't necessarily materialistic things, and
Right.
having a home was important. We wanted to have a home early on, and we did that, but I couldn't picture looking for something down the road where it was all about material and all about what you own with each other more than having the children that we have.
Right.
We had certain expectations for marriage, but once again, it goes back to the same thing of having common goals and knowing that this is what you wanted together.
Right.
That you had to work at things. I think I kind of felt like I came from a house where a lot of things were done for me, and I was wondering how would I be when I was, had a hand in how everything was done. And I think it worked out pretty good. I mean, a lot of people say, "Oh, you didn't have enough responsibility when you were younger," but once you got married, you knew
Right.
that you were responsible to that other person, and
It just flowed. It worked out.
kind of handled things
just
with
flowed.
each other,
Yeah.
both living at home,
Yeah.
and both probably having similar situations where
Right.
we didn't do a lot at home. I don't know if you want to call it spoiled or you had a lot of things done for you. Just, kind of went that way, and then once you went out on your own, you knew that you had to take care of each other, and
Yeah. It worked out.
yeah,
It worked
it was
out.
very, very lucky. Very few problems, very few issues. I guess you have the same, same issues as anybody else, but for the most part, once you had the common goals in mind,
Mm-hmm.
you knew what was more important than whether it's material, whatever it might be, that there were certain things more important than that. And we both saw that, which was nice to see, that you might give up certain things that you used to have in designer clothes or whatever it is for the common good of each other.
For bills.
Right, the common good of each other.
Yeah. So our first child was born 3 years after we got married. Your sister, Stephanie, who was going to be 22, and it's once you have a baby, and your children come into the marriage, you don't remember marriage. What marriage was like before you had the kids. It's chaotic, but it's a good chaotic. It's amazing.
Everything turns from being about the two of you
Right.
to being about,
The baby.
in this case, one baby. But
And then
further down the road,
then
your
4
second
years
kid.
later, then you came along, and
It becomes all about you guys as
Right.
compared to about us. You always get put on the back burner compared to what you need to take care of for your kids.
your priorities shift, and it's all good. It's all fun. You're building memories, all the baby's first things, so it really adds to the memory.
It just becomes kind of important because it's a necessity for day-to-day life, and from time to time it becomes an issue.
Yeah, I think a lot of the stress that you have in a marriage, especially early in marriage, does kind of revolve around your money, paying bills, and you work a lot of hours, but you work it out somehow.
Like I said before, we went from both living at home to all of a sudden now you're responsible for all your finances and taking
Right.
care of it, the stuff that you'd never really done before.
True.
And over the course of the first bunch of years, it becomes a learning experience, and you learn how to balance different things between your life and money, and
Right.
you learn to deal with what kind of money you have coming in as to what you can spend,
To be
and
disciplined
right.
with your money.
You don't choose who you fall in love with, but it so happened that we were both Catholic, and that's a big part of our lives, and how we live our lives and how we raise our kids. And it was something we never had to wrestle with, because we both felt the same way about
Right.
different issues because of the religious views and the background that we had.
It was
Um,
important to share that common denominator with us, that we're both the same religion and we share the same values. That was important.
Otherwise, I guess it could be an issue as to how you want to raise your kids.
Right.
If one's one religion, another, or if somebody doesn't feel the same. You can both be the same religion, but maybe you don't feel the same way about things.
Right.
Everybody has a different opinion on things, and for the most part, we pretty much
Agree.
meshed together and felt the same way about a lot of issues because of that.
I guess any advice we could give to young people looking to get married would just be, make sure, take your time, be in a committed relationship, and just be certain that this is the person you want to spend the rest of your life with, and just enjoy the dating before you rush into the marriage part of it. This way,
That's kind of the way we went about it. Even though we were both younger, we both dated a bunch of different people just to.
prior,
You kind of want to get an idea.
prior to each
Yeah, you kind of want to get an idea of where you stand with another person,
Right.
or do they have all the same ideas you have, stuff like that. I mean, you don't have to be 100% agreeable to everything, but it kind of helps when you both feel the same way about different things, whether it's kids, whether it's money, whether it's what's important in your life as compared to
True.
materialistic stuff or whatever it is.
And it just takes time. You got to build your relationship over time to make sure that the time you spend with that person, you really see the ins and the outs of what that person is truly like. So it takes time.
I think today we've been pretty lucky. We've gotten along pretty well over the years. The only thing is,
The advice that you would give to somebody maybe struggling in a
I
marriage?
I think that most people today, and it's not just with a relationship, it's with everything. As soon as something goes wrong,
They're
they
out.
want to turn away from it.
Yeah.
And anything that's anything that's worthwhile is
It's worth fighting for.
yeah, and you need to work for. And
And it's a give and take, so you have to be flexible and you have to really, work on it. My advice for a young couple would be to get some counseling, speak to people, go, really work at it.
there's
to try
just
to
so
save
many
it.
there's so many things that are made into big issues that aren't really big issues.
Right.
And pride, I think, gets in the way a lot of times. Somebody always wants to be right. Somebody always wants their way, and it doesn't work like that. So if you just like Mom is saying, it's a give and take.
It's a give and take.
So it's a back and forth, and you don't.
You
It's
have
not
to
that
learn
important
when-
that you're always right. It's not big a deal that you win an argument or whatever it is, because
Yeah.
99% of that stuff it's really not that
Unimportant at
important.
the end of the day.
Right.
And
It's
you just
not
want
that
to
important. You get caught up in it.
really seriously think about it before you want to end a marriage over something. It would have to be something pretty huge.
Once you
The key to a happy, successful marriage is respect for your partner, honesty, loyalty, and just always being open and going to that person, but respect is a very big part of it, and just being honest and loyal, and love, obviously.
I think you always need to take into account the other person. It's not about you. It's not about just you anymore. And when you have the same common goals and you have the same things that you're looking forward to, just working together is a big part of it. And once you achieve the goals, it's that much more
It's a friendship.
rewarding,
it's
enjoyable.
A lot of things, yeah. I don't really support living with somebody before marriage. That's just my personal, maybe it's a little old-fashioned, but I don't really support that nowadays, because I feel like if you're going to live together and you're going to be in that type of a committed relationship where you're under the same roof and you're really doing everything that married couples do. You're just missing that commitment and that vow that you take. So to me,
I think it makes it. I mean, divorce has become kind of easy nowadays, but I think it makes things too easy for one person to just pick up and walk away.
yeah, there's no.
I don't know. I always look at it from the father of daughters, is that you're kind of giving him everything he wants without any commitment, and
Makes it kind of convenient.
right,
And,
it just makes it too easy for somebody to just up and walk away.
Not to
And-
mention the financial part of it, that sometimes certain people have to understand. You know, they will think twice if they know they're going to lose half of. You know, if they're going to walk away, then there's nothing. There's no strings.
It may make it easier to
Yeah.
to work at something
Right.
together if you know there's the end result is not going to be good, be it financially or
Right.
whatever, and then especially once you have kids,
Yeah.
you know, it adds that much more to it.
I think it's difficult for kids to see their parents end up apart. So no matter what, the goal is you want to try to keep that